What's up everybody, I'm Gooshy. In this video, we're going to be going over Chapter 2 of the Legends raid. This section of the raid by far took the longest time to complete, because I think as a team, it takes the most communication to work together for timing puzzles and also rotating to different parts of the map. So we'll be going over each section and how we communicated what we wanted to do throughout this chapter of the raid. Alright, to start it off, once you spawn in, you'll kill a couple of enemies and follow the path until you get to a set of attunements. Here you want to make a crucial decision as it'll affect almost 50% of this chapter. Only 3 of you can pick up attunements. Once those people pick up the attunements, they won't be able to see what attunement each platform is. Only the 4th person who didn't pick up an attunement can see what attunement each platform is. So what you really want is your main shot caller to not have an attunement. This shot caller should also have a decent long ranged weapon, preferably a bow or even a blowgun. And we'll go over later why this is important. So to start off the platform, your shot caller would tell you which attunement the next platform is. In this case, it was Sun, which I had. Next, everyone else would follow you onto the platform. The shot caller would then call the next platform. So Ninja, who had win, stepped onto the next one. Next, I had to make sure that I was the last person to jump. Again, we'll repeat this process until one special case comes up. Sometimes the platform order has the same attunements twice in a row. In this case, Dutchy initially had Moon, and the next platform was Moon as well. If Dutchy jumped first this time, the platform on the rest of us would fall first. So what you have to do is do a countdown so that everyone jumps at the same time. From there, as long as you communicate which platforms are next, and if you're going to be jumping at the same time, you should make it all the way to the bottom. From here, after you kill all the enemies, 3 plates that people could stand on. The people with the attunements should be standing on them. So spawn platforms for your shot caller to use to get across. From there, the shot caller needs to step on a platform on their side to activate platforms, which again the people with attunements can't see. The shot caller will then call out each platform that comes next until all 3 make it across. And this part is probably the worst part of the raid. I think it took our team around like an hour just to beat this, and honestly it was mostly just luck. Alright, so to start this part off, again the people with the 3 attunements need to stand on plates so that your shot caller can go across. The shot caller again steps on plates on their side to activate platforms for the other 3 to step on. However, what makes this part so hard is that there are these red orbs, similar to what you see in chapter 1, that trap you when you stay in their radius too long. And so there are 2 things that I think helped our team. One is that since the shot caller has the best view of where the red orbs are, they should tell the other 3 when the best time to jump is. As a note for the 3 that have the attunements, the most important thing to do is to make sure that you get onto the platforms. Even if you do get into the radius of the red orbs, the shot caller can shoot them with their ranged weapon to free them. From here, there's going to be more platform puzzles using these same mechanics. So again, communicate well on which attunement the next platform is and when to jump. Finally, when you see the crystal and the gate, you have reached the blood ritual. And so this part took us a while to figure out, but once you know how it works, it's fairly simple. As you enter the chamber, there's 3 wells, 1 on the ground at the center, and 2 raised on a cliff to the left and the right. Once you stand on these platforms, enemies will spawn, and your main goal is to kill enemies within the center well. However, there is a requirement that 1 person has to be on each well on the left and right side for the runes in the middle to fill up and eventually open the door. So 2 people should be assigned to each side, with one of them starting off at the center well and the second located at the side well. As you're killing enemies in the center well, you'll notice on your screen on the left hand side, a corruption meter will start to increase. You always want to be keeping an eye on this, because if you reach corruption 10, you'll automatically die and it'll be a team wipe. So when you get to corruption 8, communicate with the person on the same side of you to switch, and as you stay within your corresponding side well, your corruption meter will slowly go back down. From here, just make sure that you're making progress, as you'll see runes light up red in the center well. Just repeat this process until all the runes in the circle light up. As a note, if you are doing this for the first time, one of the cosmetic item challenges is to finish this section with no one having any corruption. So what we did to complete this was to wait to kill enemies once you reach that last rune to fill. From then, everyone goes onto a plate to clear all their corruption, and once the corruption is gone, you can use ranged weapons to finally kill the remaining enemies on the center well to finally fill up the circle. Once the circle is filled, the gate will open and open a path to the next section. The path will then lead you to Ichitsune's bow with the exact same mechanic provided in Legends already. gives you the ability to cleanse enemies. In this part of the raid, it gives you a new mechanic where you have to shoot these bells multiple times to activate platforms. And this part of the raid isn't that hard, and is mostly just a matter of finding out where the next bell is. One really important part of this section is that there is a time limit after you hit the bells at which how long the platforms stay up. So the main thing you want to coordinate with your team, especially if there are multiple bells that you have to hit, is where the next platform is and making sure everyone has enough time to get across. As you cross each platform, there will be some Tengu that spawn, as well as some Ghost Oni archers, so make sure that you take them out first. Once you finish 3 platform sections, you'll then make it to another attunement section. In this section, you'll be facing imbued enemies that you have to shoot with your bow, as well as Hwacha that'll be raining down arrows. At each section, there will be a gate blocking you with specific attunement. So, your main job is to find the attunement totem and sabotage the ritual totem. There'll be 3 sections of this, which are pretty straightforward. Just use your focus hearing to find those totems and where you're supposed to go to sabotage them. Once you get through those areas, you'll reach the Desolate Fortress. Here, you'll see sacks very similar to the very beginning of the raid, where you have to kill enemies near them to make them explode. However, there's actually one main goal that you have to do, which is open up the gate. At the very end of the chamber, there are 2 empty crystal slots to open up the gate. However, unlike chapter 1, where each sack spawned the crystal, there are 2 specific sacks that spawn these crystals. One on the right hand side up the stairs, and 2 on the left hand side up the stairs. So when you get here, ignore all the other sacks. Up the stairs, there'll be 2 sacks that you have to destroy. Once you do that, it'll open up a mini gate that will lead you to another set of sacks. Only one of these drop the crystal, so once you destroy one and find the crystal, you're free to drop it down and take it to its slot next to the gate. For this part, you'll be swarmed with a ton of enemies, so if you have an assassin on the team, group invis would be super helpful. Once both sides gets their corresponding crystals and enters it into their slots, the door will open up and will lead you through a path to the Gorge of Shadows. From here, there'll be more jumping platforms that you have to get across. The first one is an arrow one, so again, make sure you're doing this as quick as possible so the platforms don't disappear. The second set of platforms is an attunement one, so make sure that you, again, have your shot caller not taking an attunement, and again, counting down when all of you need to jump together. Finally, the last one is a mixture of both attunements and arrow. Because of this, to give us a little bit more time before the platforms disappear, we ended up waiting on a couple platforms that have attunements, so we can reset that timer once we hit that bell. And so finally, after you get through this last piece of platforming, we reach the final part of the chapter. And so this part is pretty rough. If you look around the environment, you'll see 2 wells, one on the right and left. In the middle, you'll see an obelisk. The obelisk will have 4 empty crystal slots, which your goal is to fill. The first crystal is immediately given to you at the start. Once this obelisk fills up to its max, as indicated on your screen on the top right hand side, your team will automatically wipe. And so the way this obelisk fills up is if enemies get too close to the 2 wells on the left and right side. So what you want is one person guarding each well, preferably a high damage dealer. If you're really good at survival and can hold spots easily, I definitely recommend you staying, as this role is going to have the most action and absolutely needs to stay alive. And so my number 1 tip, if you're defending the well, is to find out and spawn camp the enemies. You'll always know their spawn location. It's that tree looking sack beehive thing. So if you engage the enemies where they spawn, making sure that none pass you, it gives you more room to retreat and space so enemies don't get near the well. I highly recommend that your damage dealer go on the right hand side, cause a bunch more Oni spawn there. Alright, so while all this is happening, the other 2 members need to be finding the crystals. In this case, my teammate Dutchy was very kind enough to send me his footage, so we can get his perspective on his role. So big shout out to Dutchy, and I recommend checking out his channel, which I'll link down below in the description, as he was the main morale booster for our team throughout this whole chapter, and definitely kept us going. So what the other 2 people are going to do are activate platforms to get to another side where the crystals are located. The first platform is always an attunement, so one of the well holders will have to initially spawn that first platform. As the crystal finders get to the other side, there will be ghosts and gates which you have to break open. So you have to coordinate with your teammate who will be carrying the crystal and who will be opening up gates and defeating enemies. The crystal finders want to be as fast as possible so the obelisk doesn't fill up. So it's perfectly okay to not kill all the enemies, as long as you can get through the path and get back to the initial area to insert the crystal into the slot. The next set of platforms will be on the right hand side, where again the first platform needs to be the right attunement, and the rest can be activated by the bow. Again, follow the path until you find the crystal, coordinating with your other teammate to break gates, and to clear a path of enemies. Keep in mind that you can drop the crystal if you're going to get hit or just to help clear enemies. However, there is a timer on it where it will respawn to its original place. Again, speed is most important so that the obelisk won't fill up. After breaking 3 gates, you'll be able to make it back down and slot the crystal into the 3rd spot. From here, you want to help the other 2 at the well because a bunch of purple Oni will spawn. As a note, you don't need to kill them all, but your main goal is to get them off the wells. So if you can just hit them a couple times and gain some aggro, and then kite them to the middle of the map, that's basically all you need to do. From here, the last crystal is down the center of the map, but there are 2 sets of platforms on the left and right hand side where the crystal finders have to go. Each crystal finder will then have a plate to stand on to activate 2 platforms in the middle where the crystal is. At this time, one of your well defenders has to be at this center position to jump on these platforms and get the crystal. This leaves only one person to defend both wells. So again, I highly recommend that your big damage dealers stay behind and defend both wells. Once you get the crystal, the most important thing is to get that last crystal in. Once you do that, the obelisk meter will stop going up. At this point, there's going to be a ton of purple Oni, as well as attuned Oni. So again, cutting them off the wells is a viable strategy if you can't kill them all. Once you get that crystal in, you can then ignore all the enemies and go straight for the gate. Once you go through that gate, you're finished. And so this chapter, you will definitely be dying a lot. So again, just remember to communicate with your teammates. Don't get angry because that doesn't help anyone. And most importantly, have fun. With that, I really hope this guide helped you guys get through this part of the raid, because I feel like once you kind of get through it and understand the mechanics, it's fairly easy to do. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope to catch you in the next one, and GG.